Gotta let the stream breathe and get stable just for a second here. Make sure that the YouTube platform is running everything correctly as we do. Welcome in Broncos country to this Denver Broncos Syndicate pregame show. Denver Broncos versus Baltimore Ravens, Week 9. Both teams are currently sitting at 5-3. The Broncos are actually one seed ahead of the Ravens right now in the playoff standings. If it ended today, the Broncos would be the 5th seed. They would travel to Buffalo to take on the Bills, and then the Ravens would be the 6th seed, and they would travel to Pittsburgh to take on the Steelers. But obviously, it doesn't end today, and now we're going to see what this Denver Broncos team truly is made of, as the toughest stretch of their schedule is now here. It all starts this week with the trip to Baltimore. We've got D-Rock in the house. Good to see you, man. Says, I've been saying this all week, but the Broncos will beat the Edgar Allan Poe out of a Raven. Mile High Country. I love that, dude. That is fantastic. We got Maverick in the house, as always. Can always depend on Maverick being here. No better feeling than waking up to a big game. Absolutely, man. This game is going to tell us a lot about this Denver Broncos team. This defense has been towards the top of the league in pretty much every statistical category. But they haven't faced an opponent like the Ravens. Lamar Jackson, Derrick Henry, Mark Andrews, Isaiah Likely, Zay Flowers, Rashad Bateman, and now they've got Deontay Johnson in the mix. They've got a really good offensive line that's only gotten better as the weeks have gone on. This is going to be a very tough matchup for our defense. Offensively, though, our team might actually have the advantage because the Ravens' defense, especially their pass defense, has been a little bit suspect. We broke that down in deep detail in our pregame preview that we uploaded last night. But the short version is the Ravens' pass defense is bottom 10 and even number 32 in a lot of statistical categories, and the Broncos should be able to take advantage of that through the air. Their run defense is towards the top of the league in most statistical categories, but they've got some injuries up front, and that might prevent them from being able to get as much production out of their run defense. We got Graham in the house saying in Peyton we should trust. And the last few weeks, I think Peyton has proven that we definitely should trust him. I know some fans were kind of skeptical about Peyton's play calling there for a while, but these last few weeks, things have really gotten settled in. Hopefully that can continue in this game. Bronco fan 99 in the house saying the Ravens will be saying no more. Man, this Broncos defense has the potential, if they play up to their competition, to smother them. They really do. But again, the question is, do they have the talent to match to match the talent on this Ravens offense? I don't know. We're going to find out today. In the wise words of Gary Kubiak, we're fixing to find out. We got Devin saying 28-10 Ravens. Graham says, I'm sitting Lamar for Jaden Daniels today. Yeah, I'd say Jaden Daniels probably has the more favorable matchup, and I don't even think that's really a slight on Lamar. That's just, I think Jaden Daniels has a favorable matchup today, and I think he's going to be able to take advantage of it. Bronco fan says this is going to be a heavyweight fight. It really is, man. These are two teams that figure to be in the thick of the playoff hunt this year. The Ravens, you could argue, have slightly underachieved this year. I mean, they started off the season 0-2. They ripped off, I believe it was 5 straight wins, and then they lost to the Cleveland Browns last week, a game that they should not have lost. You know that they're going to be pissed off, man. They're going to come into this game ready to be fired up and ready to come in and kick the Broncos' ass, quite frankly. But the Broncos know that. They know that they're going to get a Ravens team that's going to want to come in and try to shake off their loss from last week. The Broncos are riding high after 2 straight wins. They don't want to get punched in the gut after having 2 of their best games of the season. They want to continue that momentum, especially as they go into next week against Kansas City. Funny enough, both teams actually have divisional matchups in their game after this week. The Broncos go into Kansas City to play the Chiefs, but the Ravens host the Bengals on Thursday Night Football. That's going to be a big-time game for them, and they might be looking ahead to that game. Lamar Jackson had 2 days of rest in practice. I'm almost wondering if the Baltimore Ravens are overlooking the Denver Broncos a little bit in order to prepare for that game against the Cincinnati Bengals. If that's the case, then quite frankly, I think that the Ravens have potential to get punched in the mouth. Now, knowing John Harbaugh and knowing how that Ravens team is coached, I highly doubt that is going to be the case. But you never know, man. We've seen this Ravens team at times play down to their competition. They lost to the Raiders, one of the worst teams in football. They lost by literally by the tip of their toes to the Kansas City Chiefs. And then obviously they played down to their competition last week against the Cleveland Browns. Oh, there is Bo Chapman-Nix. The Broncos are rocking their best uniform combination in terms of their white jerseys with the orange pants. Absolutely fantastic. We got Dylan Earl in the house saying, I hope we can get this win. I hope Pat can get a pick six. That would be fun, man. Pat Surtain, 3 interceptions in 3 straight games that he's played. That would be absolutely sick. Well, I guess 3 straight games that he started and finished, because Chargers game doesn't really count. He played 1 snap. Bronco fan says, we have to maintain drives and take as much time off the clock. Literally do what the Chargers did. Oh, and stay ahead on 3rd down. 100%. Those are 2 of my big keys to winning this game. Let's just go over those keys real quick because this is kind of the short version of what we talked about in the pregame preview from yesterday. You're probably going to have to keep up with the Ravens in terms of a shootout on offense. I think that the Ravens are going to be able to score points almost at will. It's just tough, even when you have a good defense, to be able to defend the Ravens. Lamar Jackson, even if you dial up the right call on defense, can still make you wrong, either with his feet or with his arm. Derrick Henry, he can kill you up front, even if you stack the box and load up your front. He can absolutely destroy you. The Broncos previously have had success defending Derrick Henry, but different scheme, different regime, different players for the most part. I'm curious to see what this iteration of the Broncos can do to defend Derrick Henry, but you're probably going to have to keep up with the Ravens in terms of scoring points. And in order to do that, you can't start slow. No turnovers in this game, but especially early on. We can't have an early fumble from little Jordan Humphrey. We can't have an early interception from Bo Nix. We can't have any of that kind of crap. The Broncos have to get off to a fast start. They have to score the first points. They have to draw the first blood in order to be able to have a fighting chance in this game. I think they should use the hurry-up offense, especially if they get the ball to start the game, just like they did versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They should gas the Ravens' defense, and additionally, using the hurry-up doesn't allow the Ravens to substitute on defense. So it really does mess up the flow and rhythm for the defense when you go hurry-up. And the Broncos have done it at points this year, most notably the Tampa Bay Buccaneers game. I want to see them do that in this game. And marry that hurry-up with the quick passing game. Get Bo Nix in a rhythm early, just like they did versus Carolina. Get his feet set, get him comfortable, get him confident. That way he doesn't have those early game bugaboos like we've seen him have in some games this year. Stay committed to the run game, even if it's not working, because if you stay committed to the run game, it will allow you to set up shots off of play action. The Broncos utilized play action at their highest rate in the game against Carolina. I want to see them do that in this game. And the run game wasn't exactly effective in that Carolina game, but again, they used it to help set up that play action. So that's what I want to see in this game. No stupid penalties, especially of the pre-snap variety. No false starts, no jumping off sides. You can't shoot yourself in the foot. You can't beat yourself if you want to beat the Baltimore Ravens. You can't be facing off against 2 opponents, the team you're playing against and yourself. You've got to be focused on beating the Ravens, not beating yourself. So no stupid penalties. Don't set yourself behind the chains, just like Bronco fan mentioned. You want to stay ahead of the chains and set up 3rd down and manageable. If you can be in 3rd down and 5- during the entirety of the game, that is a world you definitely will be willing to live in. If you get the lead, you've got to keep your foot on the gas for all 4 quarters. You cannot take your foot off the gas, kind of like I thought the Broncos did in the game against the Carolina Panthers, especially in that third quarter. I want to see the Broncos play a complete game for all 4 quarters, stay aggressive, keep punching them until they fall down and die. It's just like the Detroit Lions, man. We're going to bite your kneecap off, and when you fall down, we're going to punch you in the mouth, and we're going to smile while we're doing it. I don't know what the hell Dan Campbell says, but it's got to be that mindset for this game. You've got to go into Baltimore with the mindset that you're going to punch them in the effing mouth. That's what you have to do in order to win this game. And in order to win this game, in order to stay with the Ravens, you've got to figure out what they're doing well on offense and then stay with what's working defensively for you. Because Vance Joseph said it himself, it's kind of hard to get a feel for what the Ravens are going to do throughout the week. It's not until you really get in game that you figure out what they're doing well and how to stop it. So this defense might get a little bit of a slow start because they're trying to figure out what's going on here. That's why the Broncos need to be able to keep up offensively. No hero ball. Don't try to fight for extra yards. Don't try to do anything stupid like that on offense. Bo Nix, no forcing balls into coverage. We haven't really seen that these past few weeks, which is good. But defensively, don't try to punch the ball out. Just try to focus on your fundamentals, wrapping up and tackling. Get them on the ground. Survive the down. Those are my keys if the Denver Broncos want to keep up with the Baltimore Ravens in this game. Maverick says, going to be a defensive dogfight with some offense sprinkled in. I don't know, man. I think that this might actually be an offensive-heavy game. My final score is pretty high. I think that there's going to be quite a bit of offense in this game. He also says we get Nance and Romo today, which is a true palate cleanser. The Broncos have had some awful announcers these past few weeks. We did get Ian Eagle and Charles Davis one week, which was nice, but it's going to be really, really nice to get the cream of the crop in Jim Nance and Tony Romo. Is the game going to be on TV next weekend, Dylan? Love your awesome enthusiasm. Let's go, Steve says. Thank you so much, man. I really appreciate that. Harks, I always mess this name up. I am so sorry. Yep, keep the ball out of the Ravens' hands. Exactly. The Broncos need to win the possession time battle in this game. They've got to at least have 35 minutes of time of possession in this game if they want to stand a chance, if not more. If the Broncos can control the clock, that's going to play in their favor because, again, the best defense, honestly, against this Ravens offense is keeping them off the field. And the Broncos, if they can sustain drives, if they can take advantage of this Ravens beat-up personnel up front, they've got 2 defensive linemen out for this game. Another one who was listed as questionable. I didn't see if Travis Jones was active for the Ravens or not, but still. They've got injuries up front. It's going to all depend on Roquan Smith and Trenton Simpson on their linebacking core. If the Broncos can win up front, then they can get 4 yards per carry before they get up to the second level where Roquan Smith and Trenton Simpson are hanging out. So the Broncos can really control that up front if they get some good penetration from the interior offensive line, from Ben Powers, the former Raven, from Alex Forsythe, and from Quinn Miners. Also, make sure to pay the refs. That's funny. C-Chan says, let's go Broncos. Merlot says, fast start, slow the run. We should win. If the Ravens get into a rhythm in terms of running the ball with Derrick Henry, it's going to be really tough because then they can control the clock. And that's what they want to do. That's how they want to win this football game, is by controlling the clock and being able to sustain drives and just being able to limit possessions for their opponent. The Broncos want to go in and essentially beat the Ravens with a similar formula. Again, it's going to be a lot more difficult for the Broncos to establish a run game. A, because Javonte Williams is no Derrick Henry, and B, this Ravens run defense is good. But again, if the Broncos can establish a run game, that is going to be absolutely huge for them. D-Rock says, once we win today, we need to go straight in sync and buy. I'm already buying stock on this team, win or lose. I think that this team is in pole position to make the playoffs. They have proven that they can beat opponents who on paper they are supposed to beat. And if they can at least keep up with the Ravens in this game and make it a close game, cover the absolutely disrespectful 9.5-point spread, then I think the Broncos are going to earn a lot of respect in the NFL. Again, even if they don't come away with a victory. The Ravens, despite what it looks like on film, they're not great on defense, but in terms of their perception in the national media, they're amongst the top teams in the NFL. Like, this would be a win that the media would just absolutely flaunt over, man. They would be all over this. But I don't know, man. I think that this defense for the Ravens is very beatable. I'm not saying this wouldn't be an amazing win and easily the best win for the Broncos if they could get it this year, but I also think that this Ravens team is a little bit more beatable and a little bit more vulnerable than we would have thought at the beginning of the year. Again, they lost to the Raiders. They lost to the Cleveland Browns. They're vulnerable. Thank you so much, Ronnie. Really appreciate that. Welcome in. Good to see you. Good to see you. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and start wrapping up the pregame show. I got to get set up for the stream as somebody is calling me. I'll have to call my grandma back. All right, guys, we're going to go ahead and wrap this up so I can get set up for the game stream. If you guys have not joined one of our game streams before, they are a lot of fun. Play-by-play, we bring in the game audio from the TV, live analysis. It's all kinds of fun. The chat is always lively and active. We've got Gage. Okay, my grandma's trying to call me. I will go ahead and dip out of here, guys. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'm